typical developers,
Yeah, it's
and
hard.
especially those people have been working on Dynamics NA for the last 10 years,
I guess
particularly on
that
the client side.
I guess that's the problem. I consider myself as an elephant, and as people get elephant in a product, they it's hard to change people.
No, I consider myself as an elephant. That is the best line ever. Really, I consider myself as an elephant.
Okay, so let's start. We are at our time, and we have pretty good amount of topics to cover today. So, welcome all. This is 72nd BC Open Discussion. There's one question, and then I consider Sam question as one more question. I'll consider two questions, and then I have a scenario that came from YouTube comment. So we'll start talking about that. And then I already had a Git repo prepared. So we all will utilize that as we go forward and try to write some code based on our understanding. And then in the next meeting, we will follow up and try to review our code together to understand which one seems the best code, more or less. The idea is not to kind of find out the best code, but also at the same time understand what is the best process of writing things, because sometimes it happens, and it also happens with me so frequently, that I come with a mindset that whatever I'm writing is the best code, but it may not be, and there might be better ways to write the similar code. And it's not just the code, I guess. In the modern AL world, it's also which events you are using, which pattern you are following while you are trying to extend a base Microsoft functionality. So I guess that's something that we as a community need to evolve as the product is moving on that direction. So let's go through the normals. If you're here for the first time, which I don't think anyone here, or if you're watching the recording and you want to join these meetings, then you click on this link. It's a page on my blog where the invite gets updated, and you can just fill up the form and be invited on the next meeting. If you're here, then you can drop your name and email in the chat, and I'll make sure you get invited going forward. So what was the first question? The first question that we had today was from someone, and I forgot to specify the name, who was specifically talking about how, and I guess there was why also, why we use a gitignore, and how should we use it, and should we use it or not. And the person is saying that I saw most of the people are not using it, and what is the best practice of using a gitignore. Any thoughts or comments before I say my bit, I guess?
That's we are using it
Okay.
so that the cache files are not synced up.
Okay.
So all the cache files and sometimes even app files
Okay.
where we don't want to let the developer deploy it using the app file from the DevOps.
Okay. Yeah. So as it says, as the name says, gitignore, it means it kind of ignores those kind of files, as Sandeep has said, rightly said, while you are trying to commit your changes either on GitHub or on Azure DevOps. And the idea is also on the similar lines, which is that you should not use your source control to store files which are not required for the development of project. And let's take an example. So like, let's not assume, but this is a project, and we'll come to this project later. Uh, as soon as I have my launch.json, which is right now not pointed anywhere, but like this is also a file that I don't want to commit to my Git, because everybody may have a different environment, maybe a different Docker environment, or maybe an environment with a different name. So I want to keep it generic. And if you see, I have both kind of configuration. If the person who is doing development on the local Docker or local installation, he can use the first configuration. If he's using a cloud environment to do development, then he can use the second configuration. It's up to him, the person who is using it. But as soon as I change this, you'll notice that this file is kind of tagged on my source control saying that this need to be committed because you changed the file. And you can click on it and you can see what I changed. The next thing, as I'm starting this project, what I'll do is once I've defined my launch.json, I'll go ahead and download the symbols related to my project from my local environment. When I do that, what will happen is it'll add a folder called AL package, which will have some files here: application, base application, system application, and system. And if you actually go into the folder where these are being extracted, you'll see it's somewhere around 37 MBs of file. Is it something that is related to your code? If you are a developer who will be working on this project with me, will you need these file in the source control? Does it impact your extension, all these app files? No, right? Because you will connect to your server and you'll just do download symbol and you'll get the apps related to that. And you might be using a 19.2 maybe on your local environment. So you'll get symbols for 19.2. So you don't also want to track these file and commit these file into your source control. That's the other reason. The third thing is, as Sandeep sir is saying, that when you start working, you get some not AL file, but temporary files which are being created. So what I have, and let me see if I have my template open here. This is my template. If you see, I have a gitignore. Now this gitignore kind of ignores certain type of files, which says drop everything, and let me download this and we'll read it there if I can. Okay, I'll have it downloaded somewhere. Let me see if I have it. Okay, AL template, gitignore. Okay, so let me place it in this folder somewhere. Okay, I put it, but I have the workspace open, so I'll have to close the workspace. Okay, and let me open this. So what I've done is I've added a gitignore file, .gitignore. The idea of gitignore is two kind of things: that you can specify the extension of the files that you want to ignore. If there is a certain extension, as you are talking about, we don't want to take any app files. So if you see, as soon as I add gitignore, it said, oh, I don't know any app files, because the gitignore file says that I should skip the app files. But if I remove this, you will see that the source control will start recording the files which are of type app. So the gitignore uses is to make sure that the files that you don't want to commit back to your source control are left, and nobody have to do it manually every time. Nobody uses an FLF, but that was just a sample. So if you don't want a sample, you can do that. Now there is a rad file that's get created inside your folder. Now, if you know you don't want to exclude all JSON file, so then you need to be very specific where that file will be. So then what you want to do is you want to go to the specific path where that file will be, which is in this case would be extend customer approval .vscode.rad.json. So in future, if this file get created, this will be automatically discarded. So, and if you have to include a file in the gitignore, then you start it with like this. That means in the gitignore, don't don't consider this file, and then you can put an exclamation in the beginning, and then it'll not ignore that particular folder or file. There are cache files that get created. I guess Sandeep said you were saying about this inside each app in the VS Code folder. So you can include those. Is there a template from Microsoft? Not exactly. I guess there was some attraction that I saw a few weeks ago on the Microsoft AL GitHub repo that Microsoft was trying to do something around it, and the gitignore. And they say that we'll drop anything that is inside the AL package, which means all the app files. They will exclude all the app files. They will exclude the temp files, which is anything inside these folders. And they will exclude any of these files which starts with this and then ends with anything, or starts with anything but have this tilde sign. So you can define it based on how you want. And as I was saying, that I don't care about this launch.json. I don't want this to be changed. Sorry, my changes to go there. So I can also do something like this in that case. That whatever I've decided initially, people can change it in their projects as they go forward. Once I do that, you'll see that this 2 will change to 1. Still 2. Okay, it's still picking the launch.json. Did I?
Can you right click on that launch.json and just simply click add to?
Oh, see, that's what I didn't know. Okay. I guess because there is a space in the name, maybe that's the reason. So let me just go ahead and remove the space in the name. That's for sure a big problem in here. Okay. So I'll just change this. And in a workspace, you don't need all these files separately. You can have one gitignore for the whole workspace if you have multiple extensions in that scenario. Okay, so there are 12 changes now because I have changed the name. So it have kind of considered deletion and then addition of those files. But if you notice, there is no launch.json now. So that's how you use a gitignore. And the reason is very simple, that it doesn't create, it doesn't add all the files in your source control, which you don't want to track. So when you clone this project in future, if you're working with me, then you don't have to worry about all the changes which I have done for myself as an individual. And you just worry about, you just change things based on your project. Like you decide your own launch.json. So any change I do here will not be reflected in the source control. Any questions, anyone?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is say if you start a path with pipe, then the file would be included.
If you do
a pipe, you start the path with a pipe, what would happen? That's right.
If you have a pipe in the path.
That's right.
Here?
No, you just added the pipe on line 9.
No, that was not this. That was this sign, exclamation sign.
Oh, exclamation mark. What would happen?
That folder will not be ignored. So if you don't want to ignore a specific folder, like if I'll have to find a scenario how you do that, as a situation where you'll deal with that. But I was reading about it, that how gitignore treats the exclusion.
It may help you if you don't want to ignore XML files or some JSON files. So instead of writing specific, you can write generic JSON for exclusion, and then very, very specific JSONs that you want to include with that explanation sign.
So you don't need to specify just the extension.json.
Yeah, so if you are kind of excluding a folder, and let's read it here, an optional prefix exclamation which negates the pattern. Any matching file excluded by the previous pattern will be included again. So in a situation would be like you are excluding a whole folder, but from then you need one certain kind of files, right? Like Sandeep was saying that if you want to include an XML file from a folder which have, let's say, other PowerShell commands, so you can put the whole folder as exclude, but then include only the XML files. So then it'll consider the XML file and it will exclude anything else inside that folder.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so I'll save this. Okay, and let's go back to the slide deck. So I'll go back to that person whosoever had this question and hope that answers this question. If not, I'll be happy to discuss more about it in the future sessions. Okay, so let's move ahead to Sam's question, which is Sam. So do you want to kind of explain this? And I'm only taking this and we'll take others as we go forward, right? One by one.
Well, it's it's as it says. Just I have like 3 companies, and I want to view cells, for instance, sales lines into flow fields, like amounts of cells of all companies into one specific company. So I'll be taking one company of the 3. I'll create a page, say 50,011, and that page would have company 1 and the sales amounts, company B, so on and so forth. If I click on the amount, this would be a flow field. It will just filter all the sales lines of different companies, starting from the company I'm viewing. I'm not sure if this makes sense, actually.
Okay, so I guess that's possible. That should be possible. Let me open a new VS Code. And Sandeep said, yeah, you have to say something.
Can you have flow field from with change company? I don't think so. That will be
You don't,
difficult.
but
You can. They are on the same database. It's not 2 different tenants. So the same database, but on a different company. In theory,
no,
you would be.
but on the flow field, I guess Sam, what Sandeep sir is saying is you cannot have a flow field which is targeting to a different company inside the same database or tenant.
So what you will have to do actually is write code to extract the value and show it, and on drill down, write some code to display the data with change company. That sort of a thing.
And Sam, while I was reading this, and maybe I misread it, the way I read it today morning is that, and I'll maybe stick to this, that it'll show you all the purchase documents per se from all the companies, and then you want capabilities that when you drill down on that particular record on that page, it actually opens up that purchase document in a separate tab. That's how I read it, and maybe I read it incorrectly.
No, it would just display all the sales lines, which means all the documents, if you will, that would make up the amount I clicked on.
View the purchases of the.
That is possible. I think instead of using flow field, you can manage those using the code. You can calculate the sum of all the lines, and then using the drill down trigger, again you can calculate those lines and then view. So I think yeah, same things which you can't do directly to the flow field, but you can manage that using the code.
Right. So there are 3 parts into it, right? The first one is to kind of bring all that data into one page. That's one thing. The second part is to have an ability to kind of drill down. And then the third is to kind of open that drill down into a separate window, more or less, where you can see that particular kind of record set.
Just say, when you just take a look at the Business Central API, there is, I'll say, a record variable. Then there is a function change company, which has one parameter, which is a string. Say I'll be taking sales headers, which is a record of the table, and then dot change company, and I supply the company's name. That
Right.
way, I'm filtering data based upon that function and the company.
I guess what we are saying, Sam, is it's not a problem in terms of navigating to that company. I guess the way that Sandeep said, and then Vijay suggested you a solution, is how you bring all that data into one page from different companies, and then once the data is there, then I'm pretty sure that we can switch the company and open
Well,
that page for you.
I'll be creating a table to list down obviously the cells per company. I will have a table that would collect data from different companies. Then I would have a page to display it. This wouldn't be rendered once I just open the page. It would be stored within the table.
Okay, so yeah, if it is kind of getting stored in a table somehow, right? And the way I'll store it is in, I don't know which version, maybe Business Central 18. Microsoft added this capabilities of having the temporary table, which remains in memory only, right?
Yeah.
So that way you can have the data, and then we can talk about the next step. But let's see what Rishikesh have to say. Rishikesh, you're saying something?
Yes, sir. I think there is a table named dbo.company. So we can iterate through that, and we will not have to give a parameter of name of the company while we are iterating through the records. I guess it is possible. Because I have
And
done
you're-
it in NAV. I have never done it in Business Central, but I think it is possible.
No. So you're talking. There are two parts, Rishikesh. One is to fetch the data, and one
Yeah.
is then to navigate to that data. So you're talking about fetching the
Fetching
data.
the data. Yes, correct.
Okay. So just to keep it simple, Sam, will it make sense if we kind of talk about navigation or drilling down functionality? And then you can surely have a page based on a temporary table, as we talked about.
Yeah, which I
And
did.
then
I just
use that.
I just pasted this. I'm sorry. I just pasted the table. This is a temporary table. I thought of it because I wouldn't be using it all the time. It would be used to store the data temporarily, and I just pasted the code. Now, the way I fetch the data is on the page, right? I do have it here. I'll just paste the code, but it wouldn't make sense. But
Let
there's
me
the
just copy this data from the chat here onto this.
there's the page. You can start with the table and go to the page. This is the way I go with it. Not sure this is appropriate.
Okay, let me grab this also. Company sales. Okay. Okay. Your file.
Just copy the second table as well. Sam has put in.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah,
page.
because-
Right?
That's
It's
right.
the
Yeah.
page that you put. Okay, so let me just see this. This is a table, so let me rename it just to make it simple. There's a table which is a temporary table, and then you have put a company name.
You need to mind the ID, if you will,
That's okay.
if it's
Yeah.
included. Right. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I think it's already included here. So, yeah, it's included here. So table is this, and let's talk about the page. There's a page which is from this table. And then let's see what you're doing on the on open page. You are trying to do okay. It will get deleted because it's a temporary table, but that's okay.
Yes.
You
I don't
reset it.
need that. That's fine. Yeah, just to
Yeah.
process the data, hold it temporarily, then just delete it.
You get the customer with the name, and then you do a autocurrency field for sales LCY, and then you adds up that to the total sales, and then you do a insert of that sales for here. Then you kind of repeat it for each company. Okay, that will end up with the data here, and then you are viewing it on here.
So That bad?
Okay, so let's maybe first quickly publish this and let's have a look on this, how it looks. I've talking about it, I guess that.
Hopefully you've got different companies, like more than one company within the tenants.
That's okay. If it works for one company, I guess, then we'll figure it out for the other company, I guess. And let me just open this up. Normally the Docker have more than one company. I don't know they have customers or not.
We just have one customer, Cronus. The SaaS has a second company. They call it company, which has sample data. But Cronus, Docker has just one company, Cronus.
But you can always copy the company, right?
No, Docker dies when you try to copy the, yeah.
USA.
Company sales. I have tried it in past, but Docker dies. I would rather create a new company using this, but yeah, the Cronus USA is the default one. Oh. So the Cronus USA have the total sales, and you're saying when you click on it, it opens all the customers.
So my company is empty.
Yeah, my company is empty.
Can you click on the flow field, please? Yeah.
But it's taking you where?
To the customer's
USA. It still takes you to the company USA, right?
Because I haven't. Oh, right. You mean?
Yeah. This one takes you to company USA, and then there's a bookmark. Okay, so whenever I think about situations like this, especially now we are on the navigation part more or less, I always think about where would have Microsoft have written it? Because I have learned this very earlier in Nav. One of my mentor have told me that anything that you're thinking, most probably Microsoft have written it somewhere. You just need to know where it is written.
Well, did they use it before? I don't think they have.
They have. And
really?
If I remember it correctly, there used to be, and there still is a report which is used somewhere for notification in 1300. Notification email. So when you get an email notification from Nav, especially from workflow, there is a hyperlink attached in the email which lets you to open that particular record. So like if you send a sales order for approval, right, and you get an email to approve it, there is a hyperlink in that email which allows you to click on it, and that will open it into a web browser, and in the older version in the role tailor client. So I'm pretty sure this report should have something to kind of do hyperlink. Okay, let me search for it.
I'm not using a hyperlink. I'm just using that change company function, which does.
But you don't have to. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to. If you know the company name, then you don't have to.
Well, they shouldn't be fixed. You should definitely look through all the available companies.
So you should actually go. I'm saying when you are on that page, and I'm right now only talking about the navigation part. Once you have generated the data into your page, right?
Yeah.
We are past that situation. Like you have already done what you need on the company sales. This is here. Now you know your company name, you know the value, and what you want is when you click on it, it actually opens the right company.
But with a filter.
Yeah, it'll take the filters. Don't worry about it. That's what I'm saying. That when Microsoft sends you an email, it doesn't open all sales orders for you. It only opens the exact sales order that you need to approve.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Right. And here it is. If I'm not wrong, get web URL. Yes. Notification entry. Target link ID. Okay. Anything else? This is notification entry approval. Set placeholders. Okay. Settings URL is the things, I guess. Setting URL. Here it is. Get URL of type this company, and then the get URL function. Is it a local function?
Can you look for the company name definition?
So let's use this on your page.
Okay, cool. Right.
So if I come here and change it to, let's define a target URL as text. And let's do a target URL fetch based on get URL, and let's see what the parameters are. Client type. Okay, so the client type is my web client. Okay, my next parameter here is the company name, which is on your page is called as pet.company name. You have the company name, right?
Yes, I do.
Then you need the object type, which is a page. And then you need, let's see.
Do you think we could do it on a table?
Let's see, I'm pretty sure you can, because there is a table.run thing, right? So let's do a table if you want. Okay. And then object type, and then object ID, as in this case is database customer. So you want what, customers or sales line? Oh, you are doing one customer, right?
Sales line.
But then you don't have a filter attached to it.
Hang on.
How you're calculating this thing? You're calculating it based on the customer sales LCY.
Yeah, so the sales line.
May I interrupt?
Yeah, please.
Saurabh, do you have a cloud instance by any chance, which is working? And if you can open it up.
Okay, let me check that. I should have one.
Heads up,
What is
This will tell you. This will tell you that the saying that you were telling that somebody told you, Microsoft has already done it. You just have to find it. So let me just help you in finding it. So they have done it. This thing.
okay?
And the only thing is it does not work on-prem. I don't know why I have not gone in the codings, but it is available on the cloud SaaS model.
Does it have Skype on it?
I don't know. I have not seen the code. Just when you said it, you want such a functionality. I was thinking I have read it about some.
I've read it somewhere.
So the thing that clicked was Company Hub.
Oh yeah, company hub have that function. Yeah, that's a good thing. It's a cloud sandbox, this one, and then the no, on the same screen as in, I'm saying this is a cloud sandbox. As in, I don't remember the credential of my cloud environment right now. I have to figure that out. But company hub is a separate extension in itself, right?
Yes.
If I'm not wrong. So let me go into my cache and see the 19.3 US application, and then there should be a Microsoft Company Hub somewhere. I was in the right folder. Okay. Okay. These all are tests. Where is the Company Hub? They should have released it. And past part of that company. Nothing. Any application base. Is that a separate app or is it part of the base app? Based on this, it seems it's a part of the base app. Let me see. Not in the application. Base.
No, maybe you should just wrap it up with the answer X. Like start with the start, and then hub start.
As far as I remember, it's part of a separate app. I might be wrong, but I think it used to come as a separate app for itself.
Yeah, it's part of the separate app.
I did the migration, upgradation on prem, and that's part of the separate
Okay.
extension.
Okay, then I don't see it. Content hub. Okay. I don't
Saurav,
see.
otherwise you can stop recording and can open any of customers.
Yeah, let's figure that out, I guess, in a while. But just for argument's sake, as an I'm pretty sure this should work. And then if you see Sam here, after you specify the object type, there's an object ID, which is obvious, which we are doing. And then there is a record if you know the exact record. And then
I'm using the
sorry,
I'm using the customers table because there's a flow field on it. Cells LCY.
that's right. So let's do this because there is a use filter boolean, which means that it will allow you to whatever the filters that you have applied on the record itself, right? That will be saved and used while the URL is being generated. So let's take this example that just to keep it simple, I'll take this customer as an example, okay? And I'll apply customer dot, let's say set filter on whatever we have here. Let me just open the environment here.
Do you not think setting the company is a filter in itself?
Sorry?
Do you not think that changing the company is a filter?
Changing the company is a filter. You don't have to just give me a minute. Let's see this. Let's figure it out. They have, let's say this is Joe, this is also Joe, salesperson. I'm just looking at the salesperson. So they have everyone as Joe, I guess. Okay, this one is empty. So the last one is empty, and I'll also remove from this that there is no salesperson. Okay. So right now what I'm saying is I would like to apply a filter where the salesperson code is not blank. Okay. And the salesperson code is not, I should have done it directly. Okay, blank. And then in my get URL, I'm saying that I want to open the table and I want to open the customer table and where the record is my cust.
True. Then
and then I want to keep my filter.
Okay.
Right? There was the parameter of record and then use filter. Now this will return a target URL. Now once I have the target URL in my control, I can actually at the end of it and then do a hyperlink on that particular URL. Now what will happen with that is when you click on that, it will open the browser in a separate tab, I'm hoping, with the filters in place as kind of bookmarks. So
Fingers crossed.
company sales, and let's take this one. So this, okay. Page 22. Was it the same page? No, page 22. Tenant default run iframe is equals to 1.
Doesn't seem like it's run or anything. This is an endless loop or something.
Okay, because if it does not, then there is one more area which I know which have a capability to generate URLs, which is based on a code unit, which is called as page management. Page management, yes. And if I'm not wrong, page management also have a method to something URL, get web URL. But it works only on the recref and the page ID. Okay. Now, how can I generate the rec ref? Can I generate the rec ref, guys, somehow? Okay. How I generate a rec ref of the filtered record that I have? Anyone knows? I'm always confused about these rec refs and filters for sure. So if I have to set this, it's just set the table and then this sets the view. Let me do that. Database, customer. And then will the set view work, guys, for this? I don't know. I haven't. Set the current order, keys, and filter on a table. Okay.
So you could definitely create a variable called recref and assign it to recref.
No, but I need to assign the parameters that needed, right? Okay. Set table. What does set table does? Sets a table to which record variable refers to in the same table as a record ref variable. Will this do the magic? I don't know. But let's test this out. Because I'm pretty sure this one generates a hyperlinkable URL for the web page. And this needs a recref, which is my cust recref. And then I need the page ID, for which I guess there is also a method to get it based on the recref that has been set. So I can do a page ID based on my page management dot get page ID based on my cust recref. And then this needs a page ID, so I get that, and then I do a hyperlink of that page. I'm not sure about the recref, please. Surely use the other part of it, but let's see. Okay. So if I click on this, the record is not off. This is recref thing. I need to open this first. Open, and then this is the number, which is database customer. And the other parameter was what? Temp. True. And then the company name. Okay.
So rec.company name.
Rec.company name. Once it's open, then it should set this, and then hopefully this should run. Not sure about the recref piece for sure. Okay. So it did ask me my credentials again, which is supposed to be asked, but let's see. The requested record could not be located. So it did navigate to it. But let me.
It's not getting the page ID. You could use current page.page ID. Current page.
It should get the page ID by that for sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about the recref piece. I guess is the set table is the right way. And anybody who uses it maybe knows it. So the URL generated is the Business Central Sandbox environment in this case. The company name is tagged correctly. The page it receives is 33, which is wrong. What is page 33, guys?
we could go back to Visual Studio. We found out. 33 is
Customer lookup. Oh, yeah, because that's the lookup page. My bad. I should not have done that. Let's do it hard code as what, 22? Customer list. And let's comment this out. Or let's leave it. We'll also read this.
no, we just see it. Yeah.
Okay. Page 22. So that means it is not taking the filters ahead, which I'm passing to it, but it is trying to open that page, which is in this case is this. And if I try the my company thing, it will give me the URL, which is attached to that company. So what is failing is when I'm trying to apply that filter, I guess that's where this is the bookmark gets generated based on the filter that I'm trying to pass. And if I'm trying to, if I kind of remove the filter, just to kind of verify, because I'm pretty sure my regraph knowledge is pretty bad. So if I do just open this and then don't apply any filters for that matter, it will open that page. And if I can set that regraph here with the right record set and right filters, then I don't have to worry about anything else. It will take care of my bookmarking part and everything for that matter. If I now go to company sales, look into this, still saying not found. It's weird. Oh, why? Because I set it to be temporary.
Are you trying to open page 22?
I open the regraph, I pass it here, I pass the corresponding page, and then I target it. Sales.
No, it's not saving the filter.
I'll have to check this why this bookmark is not responding, but it should respond in the right way. That's how it works, I guess. And I've seen this working for sure. So it generates the rest of the URL. So if I switch the company as in click on this one, the URL this time is still pointing to USA because this company have what?
Yeah.
It should not point to USA. Okay, my company. This is bad. This should not happen for sure. The requested record company name is my company. This goes to known as USA. Okay, but Sam, now I have your code. Now I understand what you need, and maybe I'm sure that I'll come back to you maybe next week on
There's
this.
a copyright on it.
Sorry?
There's a copyright on it. You cannot.
I will not share it. No worries. Other than this session, I'll not make it public for sure.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And Sandeep sir, I'll have a look on the company hub feature once I get my login details. They are not handy with me, but I'll figure that out.
Sure.
Okay.
I was trying, but I was unable to get environments in. I don't know how to add environments. I do have an instance, but I was unable to add environments.
No. So yeah, before we end today's session, I just wanted to talk briefly about this, and anybody who's interested can kind of engage onto this. I have already the Git repo in place, but there was a question that came on YouTube when somebody watched the recording that we are doing and then uploading into the YouTube. And the question was around this, that I need to set up a workflow that requires approval each time a new customer is added. And I cannot figure out a way to how to do it. Can do a demo around it. Now, People who have used workflow in past will understand that the master record workflows that are available in Business Central does not work the way that they are supposed to be working. Like if you go into workflow and try to set up a workflow for, let's say, customer records, it doesn't forces user to use a workflow, and then uh, you know a user can request it, but it doesn't force a user to kind of. So if I activate this, which I have already done, I guess. Okay, let's go here. And if I go to customer, and if I create a new customer or modify a new customer, it doesn't forces user to request an approval, and then and only then it can be used, let's say, into a sales transaction. And we'll limit it to sales transaction at this point, I guess. So what's the idea is, there are three parts of the whole kind of development that I was thinking around it. The one part is, anytime a new customer gets added, it cannot be used in, let's say, sales transaction until unless it gets approved. So you will have to force that customer to send for approval until unless they cannot use it on sales. Now, once it gets approved, then it can be used on the sales transaction. If we want to go to another level to kind of do this smart, then we can also go into a route that if certain fields in the customer card have been modified, then it changes the status of that customer master to be open again, and it needs an approval again. Does that make sense?
Can I add one more level?
Yes, yeah, please.
In the case of vendor, if somebody changes the details on the vendor bank account, we need
Mhm.
approval of the vendor again.
So instead of doing it on customer, let's do it on vendor. Or should we stick to customer?
We can stick
Is
to
that,
customer. We can use the same
yeah, we'll use
vendor
the
bank
same
account.
model on,
Yeah.
we can use the same model on the vendors, because once it is done. Okay. So before we move ahead, and I share other details where the repos are and all. Does everybody kind of have an idea how workflow kind of restrict things and how things are done, more or less?
Record restriction.
Yes, record restriction. So whenever you send a request for approval, there's a table behind the scene, or not actually behind the scene, it's in the front line. People may not know about it, called restricted record or record restrictions. Now, anytime a record goes into approval, a new entry gets created into restricted record. And then in most of the areas of Business Central, like in your sales posting or in your purchase posting, there is a default check to make sure that this particular record is not restricted. And when we talk about customers and vendors, then those master records, I'm hoping, are also gets verified at that area, that are they blocked or not. And let me open, if I have the code open somewhere. And then all that happens when you read that workflow is, if you are doing this, so then when you come into this workflow page, where we just kind of move very quickly, there is this event response combination, and this is not the development events and subscriber thing. This is workflow events. So these are workflow events, and based on these events, these are workflow responses. One workflow event can have one or more responses. Like in this case, I'm pretty sure there is 3 responses, and they will happen sequentially. The first, this will happen, then this one, and then this will. So when you are trying to do this, you will surely end up into this code unit for sure, called workflow response handling. And this is where all the responses are kind of coded. So like we were talking about the restricted record thing. I'm pretty sure there is an execute response which will have a restricted record uses code. Yeah, restrict record uses. And this is the method which kind of puts that particular record into that restricted record table using this code unit called record restriction management. It adds into the restricted record, and then it, once the approval is approved, then it kind of deletes it from there. It allows the record uses. So that was one important thing to know, I guess, when you start doing development into this. And I cannot open this for some reason, and I don't know why.
Can't you refer it in a code unit and then open it?
Let me see if I'm able to do it here. Yeah, that's the, I guess that's the last route. If I don't. Okay, there it is. Because it's in check and update, because that's everything that happens here. Is this method is called okay, check something like that, check post restrictions sales header. Now this method checks for the restricted record thing, and if it is restricted then it doesn't allow it. So like with the sales header, it checks for customer blockages, and then inside this it will check for the default receive and all, and then it will check for check blocked customer on docs. So this code for sure works. I've seen this working, and as soon as you create a workflow request, approval request for that customer, it will put that into the restricted record table, and you can check it anytime on the system. So should we write it down what we need, I guess, and that will make it easier for everyone. So let me write it down here, and let me increase the font a bit. Okay. Okay, so what we want is every new customer require approval before it's used in, I'm very specific on sales transaction at this point. Then the second thing, Sandeep, that you said that anytime a customer bank account is changed,
Yes.
if customer bank account is changed, the customer requires approval again.
And third will be modification. Customer record.
Any kind of change or any
Yeah.
specific field?
For development, let's keep it any change.
Okay.
We can easily write modify.
Yeah, if customer record is modified, then customer requires approval again.
And
Okay.
also one
Yes,
default
sir.
time can change.
Okay. On default dimension change, customer requires approval again. One thing that I'll tell you, don't try to be over in terms of what kind of approval methods you use, which comes at this point, because that will surely confuse you at this one. Just keep it simple, which is the direct approver, because you cannot use approver chain, because that code is for sure not written for the master records. It only available for the sales and the purchase transactions. Direct approver is means that whosoever is assigned the approver in front of the person who is using it will be sent as an approval request. Or you can, just to keep it simple, you can choose a specific approver, which means, oh, I'll have to disable this before I change this. or you can keep it as specific approver. That means one person, so that I can choose, let's say, my name here, and I say I cannot use my name because if I'll be creating it, then I cannot be the approver. But let's say I'll say that in my Docker environment, I'll create a sort of two or sort of requester. And then I'll say any request for customer approval will go into for this approver ID. So just keep it simple. Don't go into the approval chain because I'm pretty sure that will not work. You can use any of these other than the approval chain method for sure. Okay. We are dealing with 3 scenarios at this moment. Anytime a new customer is added, it requires an approval before it's used on the sales transaction. The second is if the bank account, and then as Vijay said, if the default dimension of that customer is changed, it will require to be approved before it's used. If customer record is modified, which is pretty simple, as Sandeep sir said, that you can just check if the record is modified, then you kind of request for approval again.
Now, there is no way to extend a standard code unit, so I need to subscribe to the event to add
Yes.
the code.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Okay. Now, if you are interested, whoever is in this meeting or watching the recording later, here are the details. We have talked about a little bit about workflow. We'll continue talking about it as we do the development. There is a PC open discussion samples Git repo already there, which I was showing earlier for the Git demo example. If I can open it, okay, here it is. What I'm trying to do is I'll not create 5 different Git repos for all these samples that we are creating. So when you clone this project, you will find, and let me close the workspace so that I can show you. Okay, where is the works? Okay, let me reload this. Okay, so yeah, when you open this, you will find something like this, a folder and then these 3 files. You can click on this file and you should see an icon here called open workspace. We'll be adding all these apps here as we go forward into this one. And I'll have to change this because I've changed the name of the folder. Okay. So you can select this file and then say open workspace, and you'll get into this mode of a folder hierarchical structure, which means any folder that you open will be a separate app. So there will not be 5 apps or 10 apps where the system will get confused. The concept of workspace is to make sure that every folder is considered as one app. So in the workspace file, I have defined 6 apps. All these folders are empty. So that's okay. That's just for the future. But if you open this, you will find the AL package, which you'll not find the AL package because I skipped it on gitignore. But you will find the VS code. Inside this, you'll find launch.json. If you are working locally, you can attach it to your local environment. Docker, you can change it to local Docker. If you're working on Sandbox, then you can change those details here of your environment name and all. And then while you're trying to download the symbol, it'll ask you which environment, local sandbox or cloud sandbox, which is this name. So you can choose which one you want to download symbols from, and then it'll take that environment to download symbols. Just to keep it simple, I have enabled all kind of analyzers which will warn us while we are doing development about every minor mistake that we do, even the file names and all. What other thing I have done? Yeah, just to keep it kind of more real, I have, and this is not a registered prefix or suffix, but I've just used it as used to be in the demo. So we'll be using a BOD prefix while you are doing your customs. So this is the prefix or suffix that you can use while you are making your code changes. All your code go into this SRC folder. I've just kept this placeholder file so that this folder gets committed into Git. Git doesn't commit the empty folders. The app.json, go ahead.
Do you think you could split SRC into tables, pages, code units, and
That's
extensions?
interesting, and that's what I guess we will understand when we review next week. What everybody's understanding is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So whatever you do when you work on your projects, do it in the similar way, and then we will talk about it, right? What is right, what is wrong, what we should be doing, where we should be adding it, where we should not be adding it. And I guess that's my understanding of doing these kind of development activities, so that we learn from each other that, oh, you should have used this like this. You know, you're missing this, the code looks good, but you don't have this thing in your code. Like Sandeep said, told me today that you can actually right click on this file and say add to gitignore, which is cool. I didn't know about it. Does that make sense, guys?
Sure, we have to
It-
commit the code.
Yeah, you can have your branches and you can commit it there on your branches, and then we'll review it together.
Fine. Can you
Right?
put the link somewhere in the chat?
Yes, I'll just quickly put the link in the chat, and just maybe give me 10 minutes before I commit whatever we have changed in the today's call, as in the git ignore and all. But here is the link, and I'm just going to commit my changes as we are in this call. I change anything? No, and I've changed this. Yes.
I saw a strange thing today. You did it, you clicked on the 3 clicks and then you said push. Why exactly there was a sync option that was coming. You didn't use sync.
Yeah, this is kind of the habit. They
Okay,
recently
fine.
I
Fine.
started seeing it, but yeah, that's kind of the old style. When you get into something which this is you do all the time, that kind of gets into your head. But okay, I'm just kind of doing the pull of my initial commit so that you all can see all these changes in the git. And let's check merge, and this is done. So, and let me delete my branch. I'm done with it. Okay. So now in this path, the BC open discussion samples, you will see this, and then we'll see what happens next week. Do we have something or not?
Sure.
Okay. Anything else, anyone?
Of course. When would this recording be available?
Monday. I'm out tomorrow, and I'll make sure I'll do it on Monday. Monday morning, first thing.
Right.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll see
Goodbye.
Thanks,
you
Saurabh.
next week.
Thank you, Saurabh.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Saurabh.
Thank you.
Saurav?